Carmen Jimenez, 19 years old, entered Manhattan's most luxurious restaurant with torn clothes and a stomach that hadn't seen food for 3 days. While wealthy customers looked at her with disgust, she approached the counter with dignity and asked, "Can I wash dishes in exchange for a plate of food?" The silence that followed was deafening, but what she didn't know was that sitting at a table was Rafael Mendoza, 45 years old, a millionaire CEO who had just lost his daughter in an accident. When he saw that girl the same age as his daughter asking for work instead of charity, something broke inside him. What he did next not only changed Carmen's life, but shocked the entire city and demonstrated that sometimes an act of desperation can become the seed of the greatest hope. What city are you watching this video from, and what time is it? By the way, if you're enjoying my videos, I'd be so happy if you could subscribe to my channel and like this video. Manhattan, Upper East Side, 8:30 p.m. The Golden Meadow restaurant was the temple of American gastronomy for Manhattan's elite, where a dinner cost more than what many people earned in a month. Dim lights illuminated white marble tables, where businessmen and socialites discussed million-dollar investments between a glass of Napa Valley wine and a plate of Wagyu beef. But that night, the perfect atmosphere was broken by the entrance of a figure who didn't belong to that. Carmen Jimenez, 19 years old, pushed the glass door of the restaurant with trembling hands. Her clothes were torn and dirty, hair unwashed for days. Broken shoes revealed socks. But there was something in her eyes, a dignity that neither hunger nor desperation had managed to extinguish. The aroma of food hit her like a punch to the stomach. She hadn't eaten for 3 days, since they had evicted her from the miserable studio she shared with 2 other girls. No family, no job, no place to go. She had wandered through Manhattan streets desperately seeking a solution. The restaurant's customers began to notice her. Whispers spread like waves. "Who let that one in? Call security. How disgusting. Ruins the atmosphere." The maitre d', an elegant man about 50 years old, approached with determined step and disgusted expression. "Miss, this is a private restaurant. You cannot be here." Carmen looked him in the eyes, straightening her shoulders despite fatigue. "I know, sir. I'm not here to bother your customers." "Then leave immediately." "Wait," said Carmen with firm but respectful voice. "I can wash dishes in exchange for a plate of food. I'm not asking for charity. I'm asking to work." The silence that followed was deafening. Conversation stopped. Forks were suspended in air. All eyes were on that girl who had dared to ask for work in exchange for food, instead of simply extending her hand. The maitre d' was visibly embarrassed. "Miss, this is ridiculous. You cannot. What kind of work do you know how to do?" The deep voice came from a corner table. Everyone turned toward the man who had spoken, Rafael Mendoza. 45 years old, one of America's richest businessmen, dressed in a custom suit that cost more than a car, with perfectly combed gray hair and dark eyes that hid deep pain. Rafael had observed the entire scene in silence. That girl was about the same age as his daughter Isabel, dead 3 months before in a traffic accident. Isabel, who was 20 years old and had her whole life ahead of her. Isabel, whom he would never see again. Carmen turned toward him, surprised that someone was taking her seriously. "I know how to cook, clean, serve tables. I've worked in some bars before losing everything." Rafael slowly stood from the table, ignoring the incredulous looks of other customers. He approached Carmen, studying her face. There was something familiar in that determination, that dignity despite everything. "Have you ever worked in a high-level restaurant?" "No, sir, but I learn fast and work hard." Rafael looked at the maitre d', then back at Carmen. "What's your name?" "Carmen Jimenez." "Well, Carmen, I am Rafael Mendoza, and this restaurant is mine." The silence became even deeper. Carmen paled, realizing she had asked for work from the very owner. "Mr. Mendoza, I didn't know." Rafael raised a hand to stop her. "Don't apologize. You've made me a job proposal, and I'm considering whether to accept it." He turned toward the maitre d'. "Miguel, prepare a table for Miss Jimenez and bring her the complete menu." "But sir," began Miguel, visibly confused. "And tomorrow morning at 8, I want her here to begin the trial period. 1 week. If she proves she knows how to work, she'll have a regular contract." Carmen couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Sir, I don't know how to thank you." "Don't thank me yet," said Rafael with a sad smile. "First, you must prove you deserve it." While Carmen was accompanied to a table, the restaurant's customers murmured incredulously. Rafael Mendoza, the most ruthless man in business, had just offered work to a homeless person. But what no one knew was that Rafael had seen in Carmen something he had lost forever: the possibility of helping a young woman the same age as his daughter. And perhaps, by saving her, he would find a way to save himself from the pain that was consuming him. The next morning, Carmen presented herself at the restaurant at 7:45, 15 minutes before the established time. She had spent the night at a Salvation Army shelter. After using the $20 Rafael had given her the night before to fix herself up, she had washed. She had done everything possible to make her clothes presentable and had her hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, but above all she had in her eyes a determination she had never had before. Miguel, the maitre d', received her with evident skepticism. "Miss Jimenez, I hope you realize this is not a game. Mr. Mendoza runs a serious business." "I understand perfectly," Carmen responded firmly. "I'm here to work." Rafael arrived shortly after, as he did every morning, to supervise preparations. When he saw Carmen, he immediately noticed the change. She was the same desperate girl from the night before, but now she radiated dignity and hope. "Good," said Rafael. "We start with the basics. Miguel will explain how everything works." The following hours were a whirlwind of learning for Carmen. She learned the name and composition of each dish on the menu, memorized the wines on the list. She understood the frenetic rhythm of the kitchen. She was fast, attentive, and above all, never complained. During the lunch break, while other waiters relaxed, Carmen continued studying the menu and cleaning tables. Rafael watched her from afar, impressed by her work ethic. "You don't have to try so hard," he said, approaching. Carmen looked up, surprised. "Mr. Mendoza, I just want to prove I deserve this opportunity." "And why is it so important to you?" Carmen hesitated, then decided to be honest. "Because for the first time in months, someone has seen in me something more than a problem to solve. You gave me an opportunity when everyone else only saw a homeless person." Rafael felt tightness in his chest. Those were the same words his daughter Isabel had told him when she decided to volunteer instead of just donating money. "Dad, I want to be useful, not just rich. How long have you been living on the street?" Rafael asked gently. 2 months. "Since my grandmother died, the only family I had." Rafael nodded silently. Both had lost the most important thing in their lives. The real test came during evening service. The restaurant was full, customers demanding, kitchen under pressure. Carmen was serving her first important table, a couple of foreign businessmen who only spoke English. While taking the order in perfect English that surprised everyone, one of the customers accidentally spilled a glass of red wine on his white pants. The man began shouting, accusing her of clumsiness. Carmen remained calm, apologized professionally, and fixed everything without losing her smile. Rafael, who had witnessed the scene, was impressed by her grace under pressure. At the end of the night, while Carmen helped organize, Rafael approached. "Good work today," he said simply. "Thank you, sir. It means a lot to me." "Carmen," said Rafael, and she noticed it was the first time he used her name. "Tomorrow I want you to work in the dining room as an official waitress. Miguel will give you an appropriate uniform." Carmen's eyes filled with tears of gratitude. "Mr. Mendoza, and there's something else. I have an apartment above the restaurant that I use for guests. It's empty. If you want, you can stay there until you find something more permanent." Carmen couldn't contain her tears. "Why are you doing all this for me?" Rafael looked into her eyes, and for a moment she saw through the mask of the successful businessman. She saw a father who had lost his daughter and was looking for a way to give meaning to his pain. "Because you also deserve a second chance," he said, simply. But what he didn't say was that he also needed a second chance to be useful to someone, and perhaps by helping Carmen, he would find a way to honor Isabel's memory. Are you enjoying this story? Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Now let's continue with the video. 2 weeks later, Carmen was unrecognizable. With the restaurant's elegant uniform and hair always perfectly arranged, She had become one of the most requested waitresses by customers. One night, a well-known food critic began complaining about everything: the wine, the food, the service. While other waiters avoided him, Carmen approached calmly. "Sir, I see you're not satisfied with your experience tonight. What can I do to improve the situation?" The man looked at her surprised. "Miss, in 30 years of food criticism, no one had asked me what they could do to improve." "Because apologies without actions are empty," Carmen responded. "If there's a problem, I want to resolve it." The critic was so impressed that he wrote a laudatory review, mentioning the waitress who transformed a difficult night into a memorable experience. The next morning, Rafael called Carmen to his office and showed her the article. "Carmen, I must confess something," he said, going toward the window. 3 months ago, I lost my daughter Isabel in a traffic accident. She was your age, had the same determined eyes. He turned toward her, eyes glistening. "When I saw you asking for work instead of charity, I saw Isabel. You gave me what I thought I had lost forever, the possibility of being a mentor again." He took a folder from the desk. "That's why I've spoken with Columbia University. They have a program for deserving students who work. You can study business administration while continuing to work here. The company will pay tuition." Carmen was breathless. "But I didn't even finish high school. You can recover it with a night course and then start university." Tears began falling down Carmen's face. "Why are you doing all this?" "Because Isabel would have wanted me to. And because you've shown that every person deserves an opportunity to rebuild their life." Carmen stood up and hugged Rafael. It was a spontaneous gesture, full of gratitude. Rafael returned the embrace, feeling for the first time in months warmth that wasn't just pain. 6 months later, Carmen had finished high school and started university with excellent grades. Now she worked as assistant manager, becoming an important presence in Rafael's life. But the real test of their bond came unexpectedly. One night, Rafael received a call that chilled his blood. Carmen had been taken to the hospital after an accident in the kitchen. He ran to Mount Sinai Hospital, finding her conscious but with a severe burn on her right arm. "How is she?" he asked the doctor, voice trembling. "She suffered second-degree burns. She'll recover completely, but will need weeks of rest." Rafael approached the bed. "Forget the restaurant," he said, taking her healthy hand. "What's important is that you're okay. Carmen, you're not just an employee to me. You're the daughter destiny returned to me. You're also like a father to me, the father I never had." In the following days, Rafael didn't move from her side. One night he received a visit from Isabel's parents, from whom he had divorced years before. "Rafael," said his ex-wife Maria, "Isabel would be proud of you. That girl has returned purpose to you." When Carmen woke the next morning, Rafael introduced her to Maria and Roberto. "If Rafael considers you a daughter," said Maria, taking Carmen's hand, "we also consider you part of the family." In that moment, Carmen understood she wasn't replacing Isabel. She was honoring her memory. And Rafael understood that love never dies. It transforms and finds new ways to flourish. 2 years later, Carmen graduated with honors from Columbia. The restaurant had become legendary not only for its cuisine, but for the story of the waitress-turned-manager. "Mr. Mendoza," said Carmen one night, "I'd like to open a wing of the restaurant dedicated to professional training for young people in difficulty. It's an ambitious project. Have you thought about costs? I've written a book about my story from homeless to manager. The proceeds could finance the project." When From Street to Star came out, it became a phenomenon. Carmen's story inspired thousands of people throughout America. The most emotional moment was a letter from a girl in Los Angeles. "Your story gave me courage to ask for help instead of giving up. Now I work in a restaurant and study at night." The project was an extraordinary success. In 1 year, it had helped 50 young people find work and dignity. During the inauguration ceremony of the second center, Rafael said, "3 years ago, a desperate girl entered my restaurant. I thought I was helping her, but she was the one who helped me. She taught me that every person has within themselves the potential for greatness." He looked at Carmen. Today, she has become one of America's most respected social entrepreneurs. But for me, she will always be the daughter life returned to me. Carmen went up to the stage and hugged him. And you will be the father who taught me that true wealth is measured in lives positively touched. The audience burst into applause, but for them only existed a father and daughter whom destiny had united in the most unexpected way. 5 years after that first encounter, Carmen had created a network of training centers throughout America. The Second Chance Project had helped more than 2,000 young people in difficulty rebuild their lives. Rafael, now 70 years old, had officially passed management of the business empire to Carmen, maintaining only an advisory role, but continued going to the restaurant every day, not to work, but to see his daughter transform dreams into reality. One morning, while having coffee together, as they had done every day for years, Carmen asked Rafael a question she had carried in her heart for a long time. "Dad," she said. She always called him that now. "Do you miss Isabel?" Rafael smiled sadly. "Every day. But I've learned that love doesn't die. It transforms. Isabel lives in every young person we help, in every life we change, in every hope we ignite. Do you think she would be proud of us? I'm sure. Isabel dreamed of changing the world. Through you, through what we've built together, we're doing it." That night, during the awards ceremony where Carmen received recognition as Social Entrepreneur of the Year, she gave a speech that moved the entire audience. 5 years ago, I was a homeless girl, without family, without hope. A generous man gave me not just a job, but an opportunity to become the person I was destined to be. She looked at Rafael in the audience. But the most important lesson I've learned is this. Each of us has the power to be someone else's second chance. Each of us can be the extended hand that lifts up whoever has fallen. The project we've created isn't just mine or just my father. Rafael's. It belongs to every person who has chosen to believe that human beings are worth more than the circumstances they find themselves in. Rafael Mendoza, whom I never met but feel present every day, dreamed of making the world a better place. Today I can say her dream is alive and continues growing in every life we touch. When Carmen returned to her seat, Rafael hugged her tight. "Isabel is here with us," he whispered. "I feel her." "Me too," Carmen responded. "And I know she's proud." 1 year later, Rafael passed away peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by Carmen's love and all the people whose lives he had touched. More than 1,000 people attended his funeral, from former homeless people turned entrepreneurs to students he had helped graduate. Carmen now ran alone the empire Rafael had built, but managed it according to the principles he had taught her. Every decision had to be made thinking about how it would help those who needed it most. In his will, Rafael had left everything to Carmen with one condition, that she continue transforming lives and giving second chances to those who needed them. And while Carmen continued the work, she knew that somewhere Isabel and Rafael were smiling, seeing how a simple gesture of kindness had created waves of change that would extend for generations. The story proved that sometimes, when everything seems lost, one person who believes in us is enough to rekindle hope, and that true love, the kind that exists between a father and daughter whom blood didn't create but the heart chose, can really change the world, one life at a time. If this story has touched your heart and made you believe in the power of second chances, leave a heart down below. I want to hear your stories. Have you ever received a second chance that changed your life? Do you believe every person deserves an opportunity to start over? Have you ever helped someone in difficulty and seen their potential flourish? Share in the comments your experiences about kindness, chosen family, and second chances. Because every story of redemption and love inspires others to never give up and extend a hand to those who need it. Subscribe for more stories that prove love and kindness can really change the world. And remember, each of us can be someone else's second chance.